The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss, and Kang Tai-ho stepped onto the silver platform of the Galactic Defense Academy. He took a deep breath. The air smelled different here, clean and cold, like metal and winter mixed together. Above him, 3 moons hung in a purple sky. He was far from Earth now. Very far dot around him, creatures of all shapes and sizes moved toward the main building. Some walked on 2 legs like him. Others had 4 legs, or 6, or none at all. Some had scales that shined like jewels. Others had skin as pale as milk. Tai-ho had studied all 12 species of the Galactic Coalition, but seeing them in person was something else entirely. He was the only human here, the first one ever accepted into the Academy. Back on Earth, people called him a pioneer, a hero. But standing among giants and beings with claws and wings, he felt very small. A tall creature with silver skin and 4 eyes approached him. The uniform on its chest showed the mark of a commander. "You are the human," it said. Not a question. A statement. "Yes, Commander," Tai-ho said. He kept his voice steady. "Kang Tai-ho, reporting for intake." The commander studied him for a long moment. "I am Commander Velis. Follow the others to the Great Hall. Today is the verification ceremony. Do not be late." Tai-ho nodded and walked with the crowd. He noticed that other cadets kept their distance from him. Some stared with curiosity. Others looked at him like he was something dirty on their shoes. He ignored them all. He had trained too hard and come too far to let their looks hurt him. The Great Hall was enormous. The ceiling rose so high that clouds actually formed near the top. 200 cadets stood in neat lines, waiting. At the front of the hall stood a machine that looked like a doorway made of blue light. Tai-ho had read about this. It was the genomic verification scanner. Every cadet had to pass through it. The machine would read their DNA and confirm their species. It was a security measure, nothing more. A simple formality. One by one, cadets stepped through the scanner. Each time, a calm voice announced the result. Orani confirmed. Genetic profile stored. Sethka confirmed. Genetic profile stored. Pelion confirmed. Genetic profile stored. Tai-ho watched a reptilian cadet step through. The creature had green scales and yellow eyes that seemed to glow. "Sethka confirmed," the machine said. The reptilian moved on without looking back. The line grew shorter. Tai-ho's turn came closer. His heart beat a little faster, but he told himself to stay calm. He was human. The machine would say, "Human confirmed," and that would be the end of it. Simple. Finally, he stood before the scanner. The blue light hummed softly. He took a step forward and walked through. Nothing happened. The light flickered. The humming sound grew louder, then stopped completely. For 3 long seconds, there was only silence. Then the alarm came. Loud, sharp. Red lights flashed across the entire hall. The scanner screen turned crimson, and words appeared in large letters that everyone could see. Unknown. Genome detected. Classification. Unable to process. Alert level. Critical. Tai-ho stood frozen on the other side of the scanner. He turned around slowly. Every eye in the hall was on him. 200 cadets, officers, and staff, all staring at the human who had broken a machine that had worked perfectly for 400 years. Guards rushed toward him. They were big, with armor and weapons that glowed with energy. "Do not move," one of them shouted. "Keep your hands where we can see them." Tai-ho raised his hands slowly. "There must be a mistake," he said. "I am human. I was born on Earth. You can check my records." Commander Velis pushed through the crowd. His 4 eyes were narrow, studying Tai-ho like a scientist studying a strange insect. "The scanner does not make mistakes," he said. "In 400 years, it has never failed. Not once. Then there is a first time for everything. Taiho said. He tried to keep his voice calm, but fear was starting to grow in his chest. I am human. Nothing else. I do not know why the machine reacted this way. Velis did not answer. He turned to the guards. Stake him to the isolation chamber. Level 5 security. No contact with anyone until I give the order. The guards grabbed Taiho's arms and started to drag him away. He did not fight. Fighting would only make things worse. But as they pulled him toward a side door, he heard the whispers of the other cadets. Freak. Monster. I knew humans could not be trusted. The words hurt more than the guard's grip. They took him through long hallways that went deep underground. The walls changed from silver to gray to black. The air grew colder. Finally, they reached a small room with white walls and a single bed. No windows. No decorations. Just a cold, empty box. The guards pushed him inside and closed the door. The lock clicked with a heavy sound. Taiho stood alone in the silence. He sat on the bed and put his head in his hands. What had just happened? He was human. He knew he was human. His parents were human. His grandparents were human. He had lived on Earth his whole life, eaten Korean food, gone to Korean schools, and dreamed of the stars like any other human child. There was nothing special about him, but the machine had said otherwise. Unknown genome. Those two words echoed in his mind like a curse. Hours passed. Or maybe it was minutes. Time moved strangely in the white room. Taiho lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. He thought about his mother back on Earth, how proud she had been when he got accepted. He thought about his father, who had told him to be brave no matter what happened. He thought about home. Then the door opened. Commander Velis stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. Come with me, he said. The council wants to see you. Taiho stood up. The council? Why would the Galactic Council care about one cadet? Velis did not answer the question. Instead, he leaned closer and spoke in a low voice, almost a whisper. I have served this academy for 60 years. I have seen many strange things, but I have never seen the scanner react like that. Not to anyone. Not ever. He paused and looked Taiho directly in the eyes. Whatever you are, Kang Taiho, you are not ordinary. And that makes you either very valuable or very dangerous. The council will decide which. The door closed behind them, and Taiho walked into an uncertain future, carrying the weight of two words that had changed everything. Unknown genome. 3 days passed in the isolation chamber. 3 days of tests, scans, and questions. Scientists came and went like ghosts in white coats. They took his blood. They scanned his brain. They made him run on machines and solve puzzles and answer the same questions over and over again. Where were you born? Who are your parents? Have you ever felt different from other humans? Taiho answered everything honestly. He had nothing to hide. But the scientists never seemed satisfied. They would look at their screens, shake their heads, and whisper to each other in languages he did not understand. Then they would leave, and Taiho would be alone again in the white room. He was starting to lose track of time. There were no windows, no clocks, no way to know if it was day or night. The lights never turned off. The silence never ended. He ate the food they brought him and slept when he could, but his dreams were filled with red alarms and flashing screens. On the third day, someone new came to see him. She was human. Taiho sat up straight when he saw her. She had long black hair tied back in a simple ponytail and wore a lab coat like the other scientists, but her face was kind. She looked at him with real eyes, not the cold stares of the alien researchers. Hello, she said in Korean. My name is Yoon-hana. I am a xenobiologist. I study alien life forms. She smiled a little. I never thought I would be studying a fellow human. Taiho felt something loosen in his chest. He had not heard Korean in 3 days. He had not seen another human face since he left the shuttle. "Are you here to run more tests?" he asked. "I am here to help you," Hana said. She sat down on a chair across from him. "I have been looking at your results. All of them. I think I understand what is happening." Taiho leaned forward. "Tell me, please. No one tells me anything. They just take my blood and leave." Hannah looked at the door, making sure it was closed. When she spoke again, her voice was low. "The scanner is not broken. It works perfectly. The problem is that your DNA contains something the Galactic database has never seen before." "What do you mean?" "I am human. My DNA should look like any other human DNA." "Most of it does," Hana said. "But there are parts of your genetic code that are dormant. Sleeping, you could say. These parts do not match any known species in the Coalition. They do not match anything from Earth either. They are completely unknown." Taiho felt cold. "Are you saying I am not human?" "No, you are human. Completely human. But there is something extra inside you. Something hidden. Something that has been waiting." Before Taiho could ask more questions, the door opened. A guard stood in the doorway. "Dr. Yoon, your time is finished." Hannah stood up quickly. She gave Taiho one last look. "I will come back," she whispered. "Trust me." Then she was gone, and Taiho was alone again with his thoughts. That night, he could not sleep. He lay on the bed and thought about what Hannah had said. Dormant DNA, unknown genetic code. What did it mean? Was he some kind of experiment? Had his parents known about this? 1,000 questions filled his mind, but he had no answers. The next morning, Hannah came again. This time, she brought a small screen with her. "I found something," she said. Her eyes were bright with excitement and fear. "Last night, I searched the old archives, records that have not been opened in thousands of years, and I found a match." She showed him the screen. On it was an image of ancient ruins. Tall pillars of black stone covered in strange symbols. "These are cedar ruins," Hannah said. "The cedars were a species that existed millions of years ago. No one knows where they came from or where they went, but they left traces all across the galaxy. What does this have to do with me?" Hannah changed the image. Now the screen showed 2 lines of genetic code side by side. The line on the left is from your DNA, the dormant parts that the scanner could not identify. The line on the right is from genetic fragments found in cedar ruins. Taiho stared at the screen. The 2 lines were almost identical. "They match," he said slowly. "My DNA matches the cedars." Hannah nodded. "Not just your DNA. I checked other human samples in the database. The same dormant sequences exist in all of them. Every human carries this code. But in you, for some reason, the code is stronger, more active. That is why the scanner reacted so strongly." Taiho felt dizzy. "What does this mean? What are humans?" Hannah's voice was barely a whisper now. "I think humans are what the cedars left behind. I think they created us or changed us millions of years ago. We are not just another species that evolved by accident. We are their children, their legacy." The door opened again. This time, Commander Velas himself stood there. His face was hard and serious. "Kang Taiho," he said, "the High Council has reviewed your case. You will be transported to the capital world immediately. They wish to question you themselves. Question me." Taiho stood up. "I have done nothing wrong. That is for the council to decide." Velas looked at Hana. "Dr. Yoon, you will come as well. Bring all your research. The council will want to see it." As guards led them out of the isolation chamber, Taiho walked beside Hana. "What will happen now?" he asked quietly. I do not know, she admitted. The council is made of leaders from all 12 species. Some of them are wise and fair. Others are afraid of anything they do not understand. And right now, humans are the thing they do not understand. They reached a shuttle bay where a large ship waited. It was sleek and silver, with the symbol of the Galactic Council on its side. Guards stood at every door. Before they boarded, a voice called out, "Human." Tai-Ho turned. It was the reptilian cadet from the scanner ceremony, the Sethka with green scales and yellow eyes. He had followed them to the shuttle bay. "My name is Rin," the reptilian said. He looked uncomfortable, like speaking was difficult for him. "The other cadets are saying bad things about you. They call you a monster and a freak. They say humans should never have been allowed into the coalition." Tai-Ho said nothing. He had heard the whispers. "I do not believe them," Rin continued. "I watched you during the ceremony. When the alarms went off, you did not run. You did not fight. You stayed calm. That is not what a monster does." "Thank you," Tai-Ho said. He meant it. Rin nodded once. "Good luck with the council. I hope they see the truth." Then the guards pushed Tai-Ho toward the ship, and the shuttle doors closed behind him. Through the window, he watched the academy grow smaller and smaller until it disappeared among the stars. Hannah sat beside him. She was holding her research files tight against her chest. "Are you afraid?" she asked. Tai-Ho thought about it. "Yes," he said honestly, "but I am also curious. All my life, I thought I was ordinary, just another human from Earth. Now I find out that humans might be something special, something ancient. I want to know the truth, even if the truth is dangerous." Hannah smiled sadly. "The truth often is dangerous, but it is still better than lies." The ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, and the stars turned into long lines of light. Somewhere ahead, the council waited, and with them, the answers Tai-Ho needed. Or his death. He was not sure which one was more likely. The Grand Council chamber was the largest room Tai-Ho had ever seen. It was shaped like a circle, with 12 tall chairs arranged around the edge. Each chair was different, designed for a different species. Some were wide and flat. Others were tall and narrow. One looked more like a pool of water than a chair. In each seat sat a leader, a representative of their entire species. These were the 12 most powerful beings in the galaxy, and they were all looking at Tai-Ho. He stood in the center of the room on a small platform. Bright lights shone down on him from above, making it hard to see the faces of the council members. Hannah stood nearby at a smaller platform with her research files displayed on a floating screen. "Kang Tai-Ho," a deep voice said. It belonged to a creature with gray skin and a head shaped like a hammer. "You stand before this council accused of no crime. Yet you have caused great concern among all our species. The scanner on Kethris 4 identified your genome as unknown. In 400 years, this has never happened. Explain yourself." Tai-Ho kept his voice steady. "I cannot explain what I do not understand. I was born on Earth. I grew up on Earth. I trained for years to join the academy. I am human. That is all I know." "That is not enough," another voice said. This one was sharp and cold. It came from a thin creature with pale blue skin and eyes like ice. This was High Counselor Marek, the oldest member of the council. "The scanner found something inside you. Something dangerous. Something unknown. We cannot simply ignore this." Hannah stepped forward. "If I may speak, Counselor." Marek waved his hand. "Speak, human scientist. Tell us what your research has found." Hannah pressed a button and the floating screen changed. It showed the genetic code that she had shown Tai-Ho in the isolation chamber. "I have spent the last 3 days studying Cadet and Kang's DNA. What I found is remarkable. His genetic code contains dormant sequences that match fragments found in cedar ruins across the galaxy. The room exploded with noise. Council members shouted questions and accusations. Some stood up from their seats. Others pounded their fists on the arms of their chairs. The word cedar echoed off the walls like thunder. Marek raised his hand, and the room fell silent. You claim that this human carries the genetic code of the cedars? The ancient ones who vanished before any of our species existed. Yes, Hannah said. And not just him. I checked the database. All humans carry these sequences. It is part of human DNA. But in most humans, the code is deeply dormant. In Cadet Kang, for reasons we do not yet understand, the code is more active. That is why the scanner detected it. What does this mean? Asked a council member with feathers covering her face. What are humans? Hannah took a deep breath. I believe the cedars created humans. Or at least, they changed early humans millions of years ago. They gave us these genetic sequences for a purpose. What purpose? Marek demanded. I believe humans were designed to be adapters. The cedar code contains instructions for enhanced healing, environmental adaptation, and something the ancient records call empathic resonance. The ability to form deep connections with any intelligent species. Humans were not made to conquer or destroy. We were made to survive, to connect, and to bridge the gap between different forms of life. Marek slammed his hand on his chair. Lies. You expect us to believe that humans are some kind of gift from the ancients? That you are special? I see the truth clearly. The cedars created you as weapons. Sleeping soldiers waiting to be activated. This human is the first. There will be more. And when they wake up, they will destroy us all. That is not true, Taiho said. His voice was loud enough to fill the chamber. Every eye turned to him. I have never hurt anyone. I have never wanted to hurt anyone. I came to the academy to serve the coalition, not to destroy it. I did not ask for this genetic code. I did not even know it existed until 3 days ago. But I know who I am. I am not a weapon. Marek laughed, but there was no humor in it. Words, pretty words. But words mean nothing. Actions are what matter. He looked around at the other council members. I call for a vote. This human should be executed immediately. It is the only way to ensure our safety. Wait. Commander Velis stepped forward from the shadows. Taiho had not seen him enter the chamber. I request permission to speak. The council member with the hammer-shaped head nodded. Speak, Commander. I have watched this human for 3 days, Velis said. I have seen the test results. I have seen his behavior in isolation. He was frightened and confused, but he never became violent. He never tried to escape. He cooperated with every test, answered every question, and treated my officers with respect. This is not the behavior of a weapon. This is the behavior of a good soldier. One soldier does not represent an entire species, Marek said. Perhaps not, Velis replied. But perhaps we should give him a chance to prove himself. To prove what humans really are. The chamber fell silent. Council members looked at each other. Finally, the feathered council member spoke. What do you suggest, Commander? Velis looked at Taiho. The crucible. Gasps filled the room. Taiho did not know what the crucible was, but from the reactions around him, it was something terrible. The crucible is designed for trained military squads, said a council member with 4 arms. This human is a first-year cadet. He would not survive. Then his death will prove nothing, Marek said with a cold smile. But if he survives, we will have our answer. If he is truly what the scientist claims, a being designed to adapt and endure, then he will pass the test. If he is a weapon, his true nature will reveal itself. The council voted. 8 in favor, 4 against. The crucible was approved. 2 guards came and took Taiho by the arms. As they led him out of the chamber, Hana ran to his side. "I am sorry," she said. Her eyes were wet with tears. "I thought my research would help you. I thought they would understand." "It is not your fault," Taiho said. "You told them the truth. That is all you could do." "The crucible is a death trap," Hana whispered. "It is designed for teams of 5. You will be alone. No one has ever survived it alone." Taiho looked back at the council chamber. Marek was still smiling that cold smile. He expected Taiho to die. He wanted Taiho to die. "Then I will be the first," Taiho said. The guards took him to a holding cell to wait. He had 1 week to prepare. 1 week to get ready for a test that no one expected him to survive. 1 week to prove that humans were not weapons or monsters. That night, he did not sleep. He lay on his bed and thought about everything he had learned. The Cedars. The Dormant Code. The purpose of humanity. He thought about his parents back on Earth, about Rin who had wished him good luck, about Hannah who had risked everything to help him. He was not fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for all of humanity. If he failed, humans would always be seen as threats. Dangerous animals to be feared and controlled. But if he succeeded, everything could change. He closed his eyes and made a promise to himself. He would survive the crucible. He would show the galaxy what humans really were. Not weapons, not monsters, but bridges between worlds. Connectors of species. Children of the Cedars. Adapters who would never give up. The crucible began at dawn. Ho stood at the entrance of a massive dome that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Inside, according to the briefing he received, were 5 different zones. Each zone contained a challenge designed to test cadets to their absolute limits. Extreme weather, dangerous creatures, psychological traps. The test was meant for teams of 5 working together. Taiho had only himself. Commander Velas stood nearby with a group of officers. "You have 12 hours to reach the exit on the other side of the dome," he said. "If you fail to exit in time, you failed the test. If you die, you failed the test. There are no second chances." Taiho nodded. He wore simple clothes and carried a small bag with basic supplies. Water, food bars, a knife, and a medical kit. Nothing else. No weapons. No technology. "One more thing," Velas said. His voice was quieter now. "The council will be watching every moment. Cameras are everywhere inside the dome. Whatever you do, they will see it. Remember that." The gate opened. Cold air rushed out, so cold that Taiho could see his breath turn to ice. The first zone was a frozen mountain. He stepped inside, and the gate closed behind him. The cold hit him like a wall. Within seconds, his fingers started to go numb. His lips turned blue. He forced himself to move forward, climbing the icy slope 1 step at a time. The wind screamed around him, throwing snow into his face and pushing him backward. After an hour, his body started to fail. His legs were shaking. His heart was beating too fast. He fell to his knees in the snow and wondered if this was where he would die. Then something strange happened. A warmth spread through his chest. It started small, like a tiny fire, and then grew larger. It moved through his arms and legs, pushing back the cold. His heartbeat slowed to a steady rhythm. His shaking stopped. Taiho looked at his hands. They were still bare, still exposed to the freezing air. But they were not cold anymore. His body was generating heat from somewhere deep inside. The dormant code, he realized. It was waking up. He stood and kept climbing. The cold could not touch him now. He moved faster, stronger. Until he reached the top of the mountain, and saw the entrance to the second zone below. The second zone was a jungle filled with predators. The briefing had warned him about these creatures. They were called shadow hunters, artificial beasts designed to hunt by sensing fear. They could smell terror in a person's sweat, hear panic in a person's heartbeat. The more afraid you were, the faster they found you. Taiho entered the jungle slowly. The air was hot and wet, a complete change from the frozen mountain. Strange plants with teeth snapped at him from the shadows. He heard movement in the trees above. Then he saw them. 3 shadow hunters watching him from the darkness. They were shaped like wolves, but made of black metal and glowing red eyes. They circled him, waiting. Fear tried to rise in his chest. Every instinct told him to run. But Taiho remembered the briefing. Running would only make them chase faster. Fear would only make them hungry. He stopped walking. He closed his eyes. He took a deep breath and let it out slowly. He thought about his mother cooking rice in their small kitchen. He thought about his father teaching him to ride a bicycle. He thought about summer nights on Earth, looking up at the stars and dreaming of adventures. Good memories. Calm memories. His heartbeat slowed. His sweat dried. The fear faded away. When he opened his eyes, the shadow hunters were still there. But they were not attacking. They were confused. This prey did not smell like prey. It did not act like prey. One by one, they turned and disappeared into the jungle. Searching for easier targets, Taiho walked through the predator zone. Without being touched, the third zone was the worst. It was called the mirror chamber. A maze of walls that showed you your deepest fears. Not real dangers, but visions designed to break your mind. Taiho entered the maze and immediately saw Earth burning. Flames covered every continent. Cities crumbled into ash. His parents stood in front of their house, calling his name as fire surrounded them. "This is not real," Taiho whispered. But his heart hurt anyway. He kept walking. The wall showed him more visions. Humans being rejected by the coalition. Humans being hunted across the galaxy. Hannah dying alone in a prison cell. Rin turning away from him with disgust in his eyes. Every fear he had ever felt was thrown at him. Every doubt. Every moment of weakness. Taiho fell to his knees. Tears ran down his face. The visions pressed against him like heavy stones. Then he heard a voice. Not from the walls, but from inside himself. "You are not your fears. You are what you choose to do despite them." He did not know where the voice came from. Maybe it was the Cedar Code. Maybe it was just his own mind refusing to give up. It did not matter. He stood up and walked forward. The visions continued, but he did not stop. He walked through images of death and destruction, of loss and failure, of everything that could go wrong. He acknowledged each fear and then let it pass. He did not fight them. He did not deny them. He simply kept moving. When he reached the end of the maze, the vision stopped. He was through. The fourth zone was a simple path through a rocky valley. But it was not empty. 3 cadets lay on the ground near the path. They were injured, barely moving. 2 aliens Taiho did not recognize, and one familiar face. Rin, the Sefka, who had wished him good luck. Rin's leg was broken. His green scales were covered in blood. He looked up at Taiho with pain in his yellow eyes. "Human, you made it this far. What happened?" Taiho asked. "Predator zone," Rin said. "We did not make it through. The others are worse. They cannot walk at all." Taiho looked at the timer on the wall. He had 3 hours left. Enough time to reach the exit if he ran, but not if he stopped to help. "Leave us," one of the other cadets said. He was a small creature with purple skin. The rules say to reach the exit. Nothing about helping others. "Save yourself." Taiho looked at them. 3 injured cadets who would die if left behind. 3 lives weighed against his own survival. He opened his supply bag and took out his medical kit. "I am not leaving anyone." He spent an hour treating their wounds. He made splints for broken bones and bandages for cuts. He gave them his water and his food. When he was finished, he lifted Rin onto his back. "Hold on to me," he told the other 2. We walked together. They moved slowly. Too slowly. Every step was difficult. Rin was heavy, and the other cadets could barely stand. Taiho's muscles screamed with pain. But he did not stop. With 20 minutes left, they reached the final zone. A simple open field with the exit gate on the other side. All they had to do was walk through, but Taiho's body was failing. He had used too much energy, given away too many supplies, carried too much weight. He fell to his knees, Rin still on his back. "Get up," Rin said. "You cannot stop now." "I do not think I can move," Taiho admitted. Rin slid off his back and stood on his broken leg. He screamed in pain but did not fall. "Then lean on me. You carried me. Now I carry you." The other 2 cadets came and took Taiho's arms. Together, the 4 of them stumbled across the field. Step by painful step. Second by agonizing second. The timer showed 2 minutes. Then 1 minute. Then 30 seconds. They reached the gate and fell through together. The timer stopped at 0. Outside. The observation deck was silent. Council members, officers, and cadets watched the screens in shock. Councilor Marek's cold smile was gone. Commander Velis stood up slowly. He did not just survive, he said to no one in particular. He saved 3 others while doing it. In the medical tent, Taiho lay on a bed while doctors checked his body. Hannah sat beside him, holding his hand. "You did it," she said. "You passed." Taiho smiled weakly. "We passed. All 4 of us." Outside, the galaxy was watching, and everything was about to change. 1 month had passed since the Crucible. The Academy's Hall of Honor was filled with cadets, officers, and visitors from across the galaxy. Flags of all 12 species hung from the ceiling. Light shone down on a stage at the front of the room where Commander Velis stood behind a podium. Taiho sat in the front row, wearing a new uniform. The same uniform as every other cadet, but somehow it felt different now. It felt earned. Beside him sat Rin, his leg fully healed thanks to advanced medical technology. The Sefka had not left Taiho's side since they came out of the Crucible together. "I still cannot believe you carried me," Rin said quietly. "I weigh twice as much as you. You would have done the same for me," Taiho said. Rin thought about it. "I would like to think so, but I do not know for certain. That is the difference between us." Commander Velis raised his hand for silence. The hall grew quiet. "Today, we are here to honor not just a cadet, but a moment in history," Velis began. 1 month ago, a human named Kan Taiho entered the Crucible alone. He faced challenges designed for teams of 5. He had every reason to fail, and no one would have blamed him if he did. But he did not fail. The screen behind him showed footage from the Crucible. Taiho climbing the frozen mountain, walking calmly through the Predator Zone, moving through the mirror chamber with tears on his face, but never stopping, carrying Rin on his back. More importantly, Velis continued, when he found injured cadets on his path, he did not abandon them. He shared his supplies. He treated their wounds. He carried them to the exit, even when it meant he might not make it himself. This is not the behavior of a weapon. This is the behavior of a hero. The crowd applauded. Taiho felt his face grow warm. "Cadet Kang Taiho, please come to the stage." Taiho stood and walked to the front. His legs felt strange, like they belonged to someone else. He had never been good with attention. He preferred to stay in the background, work hard, and let his actions speak for themselves. Velis pinned a medal to his chest. It was shaped like a silver star with the symbol of the coalition in the center. For courage in the face of impossible odds. For compassion when cruelty would have been easier. For showing the galaxy what humanity truly means. I hereby promote you to squad leader, the first human to hold any command position in the galactic defense. The crowd stood and applauded again, louder this time. Taiho saw Hannah in the audience, clapping with tears in her eyes. He saw cadets who had called him a monster just a month ago now cheering for him. He saw Commander Velis, who had once looked at him like a threat, now looking at him with something like pride. But not everyone was happy. In the back of the hall, Councilor Marek stood with his arms crossed. His face showed no expression, but his eyes were cold. When the ceremony ended, he approached Taiho directly. "Do not think this is over," Marek said quietly so only Taiho could hear. "You may have won the support of fools and dreamers, but others in the galaxy will not be so easily convinced. There are factions who remember the Cedars, who fear what they left behind. They will come for you and for all of humanity." Taiho met his gaze without flinching. "Then we will be ready. You cannot be ready for what is coming. You do not even understand what you are." "Maybe not," Taiho admitted. "But I know what I choose to be. And that is what matters." Marek stared at him for a long moment, then turned and walked away without another word. Later that evening, Taiho stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars. The academy was quiet now. Most cadets had gone to celebrate with their friends and families. But Taiho preferred the silence. Hannah found him there. She walked up and stood beside him, looking at the same stars. "Your research was published today," Taiho said. "I heard it is being discussed across the entire coalition." Hannah nodded. "Some species are fascinated. Others are afraid. But at least now they know the truth. Humans are not accidents of evolution. We were created with a purpose. To connect. To adapt. To build bridges between worlds. Do you think we can live up to that purpose?" "I think we already are," Hannah said. "What you did in the Crucible was exactly what the Cedars designed us to do. You did not just survive. You helped others survive. You brought enemies together as friends. You showed that strength does not mean standing alone." Taiho thought about Rin, who had declared a life debt in the Sethka tradition. They were bonded now, brothers in everything but blood. He thought about the other two cadets he had rescued, who had thanked him with tears in their eyes. He thought about all the cadets who had changed their minds about humans after watching the Crucible footage. "There is something else," Hannah said. She pulled out a small screen and showed it to him. "This came from Earth today. A message from the Council." Taiho read the message slowly. When he finished, his hands were shaking. "Humanity's probationary status has been lifted," he said. "We are full members of the coalition now. All rights and privileges. Because of you," Hannah said. "Because of what you proved. Earth is free now. Humans can travel anywhere, study anywhere, serve anywhere. The doors that were closed are finally open." Taiho did not know what to say. He had come to the academy hoping to be a good soldier, to prove that humans deserved a place among the stars. He had never imagined that his actions would change the fate of his entire species. Rin appeared at the door of the observation deck. "There you are. Everyone is asking about you at the celebration. Are you coming?" Taiho looked at Hannah, then at Rin, then back at the stars. "In a moment. I just need a minute." Rin nodded and left. Hannah squeezed Taiho's hand once, then followed. Alone again, Taiho thought about everything that had happened. The scanner, the isolation, the council chamber, the Crucible. He had been tested in ways he never expected, and he had passed. But he knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Marek's warning echoed in his mind. Others would come. enemies who feared humanity, factions who saw them as threats. The road ahead would not be easy, but humans had never taken the easy road. They had crawled out of caves and built cities. They had crossed oceans and reached for the stars. They had faced extinction again and again and always found a way to survive. That was what humans did. They adapted. They endured. They kept moving forward no matter what stood in their way. Taiho smiled and turned away from the window. It was time to join his friends. Time to celebrate this victory and prepare for the next challenge. Behind him, the stars shone bright against the darkness of space. And somewhere, far across the void, in a tomb that had been silent for 60 million years, a light flickered on. Ancient machines hummed to life for the first time since before any living species existed. A screen glowed with strange symbols, and a message began to play. "They have awakened," the message said in a language older than time. "The children have found their way. They have passed the first test." The machines waited, patient and eternal. The second test will begin soon. In the distance, something ancient and vast turned its attention toward a small blue planet called Earth, and toward a young man named Kan Taiho, who had just taken his first step into a much larger universe. The story of humanity among the stars was only beginning.